Hello, I'm Dylan.
And I'm Keon.
And this is Dallas Story Rutcore, that podcast where we have Crazy Frog as our ringtone because this week we watched Combat.
Written by none other than Noel Clarke.
Directed by Andy Goddard.
And aired on December 24th, 2006.
Noel Clarke, the one and only Mickey Smith.
Yeah. Coming back to try his hand at writing and succeed his hand at writing for Torchwood.
Yeah, I actually I quite enjoyed this episode. You said he succeeded, and I think he did, actually. I think he did.
Yeah, I do too. I saw his name pop up at the beginning, and I was fully prepared to be like, ha ha ha, well, written by an actor. Well, here we go. but this episode was actually really good.
Yeah, and when I was looking at Britain's 10 actors, I realized that we might be going against received fan wisdom here, because I think what I saw was like this episode of this season is like the lowest rated on IMDb. According to the world famous ranking system, the IMDb users.
I used to listen to a podcast that would read IMDb reviews as part of the podcast. Maybe we should start doing that.
Oh, jeez.
They're usually pretty short, and some of them are like hilariously, or like some of the complaints people have about stuff are like hilariously unfounded,
They're also hilariously minute sometimes.
Yeah. Then again, that's what we're here for as well, so.
So I'm just looking at the IMDb ratings, and Day One and Cyberwoman are both rated lower than this, according to IMDb reviewers. So this is the third lowest of the season. I wonder what the fandom as a whole thinks of this episode. I'm really curious, given that information, actually.
Yeah, considering it's rated higher than Random Shoes, or lower than Random Shoes. Wow.
I know, right? I like how you were bold enough. While I know we described Random Shoes on the episode as the Love and Monsters of Torchwood, but I like how you were bold enough to put that in text when you tweeted about the episode. Just want to throw that out there. That was a bold move.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. I feel like describing anything as the Love and Monsters of blank is a bold move. Star Wars Episode 2 is the Love and Monsters of Star Wars.
No, well... Oh, okay, we don't have to get into it.
All right.
What we do have to get into is combat. Close quarters, unarmed combat.
So, Kosho.
Yeah, from The Prisoner, check out Inevitable, a classic sci-fi podcast.
That was the worst scene of The Prisoner so far. I'm just going to say it, on this podcast, to try and just give a little bit of a taste for people to want to listen to Inevitable this week.
Yeah, not the best episode of The Prisoner. But anyway, here we are at not the best episode of Torchwood, but far from the worst, because we have a Weevil on the loose. Oh, I don't know if you had any production stuff, but I didn't.
No, I don't have anything. Nope.
Yeah. So yeah, we got a Weevil on the loose. And who else but Captain Jack Harkness is here to oppose it and stop it from wreaking havoc.
Well, so before even that, in the title sequence, where Jack says the arming humanity against the future line, because I don't know if we've really explained this, but Torchwood does this kind of weird thing where it's sort of got that title sequence, then it does the kind of cold open, and then we get the theme tune.
Yeah.
And in that opening kind of monologue this week, I don't know if you noticed this, but some of the scenes in that opening monologue were swapped for scenes from last week of Owen and Diana.
Huh, yeah, I didn't notice that. Wow.
As sort of almost like a flashback recap kind of thing. I thought it was an interesting way to do it, because they don't say last time on Torchwood. They just kind of put it into this opening monologue by Jack.
Yeah, I didn't even
And
notice it.
maybe
I
they
don't know.
weren't switched, and maybe I just never noticed them before. But I'm pretty sure they were.
No, yeah, I don't think those were part of that sequence before. Or we just like jumped time tracks or something.
Oof! Now that's a reference.
But yeah, interesting way to do it, because really doesn't. I mean, even if you were paying closer attention than me, which you probably were, or just in general, even if one was paying closer attention than I was, like it doesn't really give you anything. It's like you could have not watched last week's episode and just been like, what the hell is that? Like that gives me no information. It actually gives me less. It takes away information. It siphons context out of my brain.
That actively removes things from my brain. It's like the memory erasing thing at the end of Space Jam 2.
Yeah, weird.
Anyway, yes, now we get to the part where Jack is just being completely and utterly hopeless at catching this Weevil.
Yeah, he's his dialogue here like is him pretending that he's gonna have a real easy time and this is just gonna be a cakewalk, but he gets like totally destroyed by this Weevil.
Right. Okay. Before this episode, did you get the impression that Torchwood had captured more than one Weevil? Or was that just me?
Yeah, they had, and they captured at least a couple.
Okay, that's what I thought, but we only ever see them with one Weevil, and later on Tosh kind of makes it out like it's a big thing that they're using their Weevil as bait. It kind of implied to me that they didn't have any other Weevils, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I don't know if that was actually what they were going for there, or if they're just doing a bad job of explaining that they had. I mean, I didn't think they had like hordes and hordes, but I thought they had at least like a few.
Yeah, so did I. But I guess the fact, maybe the fact that they've only caught one Weevil, if it is a fact, explains why Jack is just so goddamn awful at catching this Weevil in the beginning here.
Yeah, true. Anyway, what happens next is that the rest of Torchwood actually has the night off. So Gwen is having a little dinner with Reese, who's upset at her physical and mental absence.
Yeah, because Reese is telling her about like his day at work, or his week at work, I guess, because he hasn't seen her in days. And she's just completely zoned out, and he gets kind of upset, understandably. Actually, for this entire episode, I'm like on Reese's side in every interaction Reese and Gwen have. But Reese is upset that she just like doesn't care, and he's like, "Is this going to be the norm now? Like you just not caring at all about anything that I say?" And she's just like, "Sorry, it's the job." And he's like, "God damn it, the job. Screw the job."
Anyway, she then sees Jack out the window. He comes in, he's like, "Hey, I need your help."
And then Reese angrily demands Gwen sit down because it's supposed to be her day off.
Sit the F down.
And she's like, "No, I gotta work."
Don't forget the F-bomb that he drops here.
Again, I'm still completely on Reese's side, even with the F-bomb. Reese has justification to be upset at this.
Yeah, maybe Reese just needs to calm down, eat some Reese's peanut butter cups, because maybe he has low blood sugar and it's going to his head and causing him to get upset. So there you go.
That is certainly a possibility.
Yeah, it's not the most likely one whatsoever.
It's well above and away definitely not the most likely one at all.
You should just turn to the camera and hold up like a Reese's peanut butter cup and just smile into the camera and nod like Wayne's World style.
It should just turn into one of those Snickers commercials where Gwen just hands Reese a Snickers and goes, "Have a Snickers, Reese. You're not you when you're hungry."
Yeah.
Okay, that commercial always confused me. Sorry for taking us on a mini tangent, but I just wanted to say that commercial always confused me because it seemed to imply that like a Snickers would satiate your hunger
For more than 2 minutes.
That always confused me.
Also, not really, but somehow kind of implies that like a king-size Snickers bar is like a good meal to eat when you're hungry.
Yeah, no, I mean it does like explicitly kind of do that.
Yeah, wow. Well, thanks Mars Corporation, whoever the hell owns Snickers. Anyway, Gwen is all too glad to have this out.
For some reason. My note here is 7 Sins of Gwen is making me realize that Gwen is actually kind of a shitty person.
Yeah, this is the episode where I went like, wow, we joke about the 7 sins of Gwen, but like Gwen is not like actually a great person. Considering what she does later.
No, she's not. She's not. And, perhaps if we did this analysis for the other characters, we would be like, man, those people suck too, but I don't feel like Jack or Ianto, if they do suck this much, at least they're like upfront about it. They're like, yeah, I'm kind of an a-hole, or I'm kind of a dick. But Gwen just tries to like pretend like she's this great virtuous person, and then she just like basically treats all her closest friends like garbage.
Yeah.
Not only that, like her partner, she just treats him like trash, and we're gonna get to that later on because, oh boy. So Gwen and Jack are chasing this Weevil, and they see a van pull up, and it says Star Corps on the side, and I was like, hey, this is a crossover with Star Cops.
Wow.
But I don't know, Star Corps. They're not actually named Star Corps. They just have like a star on the side of the van, and Star Corps is just what I named them.
Oh wow, it's just
in my head to keep them straight.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. See, I'm getting back at you. Yeah, I'm getting back at you for the past 3 weeks where you just bamboozled me. And I just wrote that they seem way better at this than Torchwood is.
Maybe they should like take over Torchwood's responsibilities.
It's probably because they hold no qualms about just tasing the Weevils.
Yeah. Also, they're in this, you find out later, for their own carnal pleasure, and Torchwood is just in it for like a low-paying job.
A low-paying government job.
No, they're outside the government and beyond the police. Remember?
Oh yeah. How could I forget?
They're rogue. They're just their own organization that somehow commands massive amounts of respect among the army.
Because they're outside the government.
Yeah.
Arming humanity against the future.
The 21st century is when everything changes. And nobody was ready.
Yeah, I mean, Jack was right, it turned out. None of us were ready.
Anyway, yeah, these guys in ski masks just totally maul the Weevil, capture it, throw it in the back of the van, and drive off.
So, the gang gets back to Torchwood HQ.
Owen isn't picking up his phone. He's at a bar, and he's really adhering to the whole, work-life separation thing, 'cause he's just not picking up his phone whatsoever.
Okay, so last week we called Out of Time the WTF Owen moment of the season, but I'd like to rather nominate Combat as the WTF Owen moment of the season, because he just does so many things in this episode again that make me just go like, first off, he's at this bar and the bartender's kind of flirting with him, and then some guy, I guess like the bartender's boyfriend, or
Yeah,
I don't
I'm pretty
know,
sure that's what it was.
comes up and is like, hey, stop talking to her. And he's like, dude, I'm literally just ordering a drink from her. She was talking to me like Come on, man. And then Owen just beats the crap out of this guy. He does it again later.
Yeah.
And then he finally picks up his phone and he's like, all right, fine. I'll come into the office.
Yeah, always nice to, on your day off, get a call around, I don't know, 10 at night, perhaps later, for you to come and do an autopsy. Because that's what Owen has to do here.
I mean, Owen agreed to take this job knowing that this was what would happen, so...
Yeah, because I forget how, but somehow they get this lead about this guy or they get some lead about some location. I think maybe they follow the van or something, and they find this dead guy who has Crazy Frog as his ringtone.
Yeah.
And they bring him in.
Yeah, Tosh uses her follow the car using the CCTV skills to follow the Star van to this weird warehouse, like on the waterfront. I guess this is Cardiff Bay.
Yeah, I mean,
that's how they find the place.
Yeah, the whole town is a bayside, city, I think. Like, I mean, obviously there's more inland areas, but, it's, yeah.
Yeah. So
they do that, and they're deciding who should be responsible for informing the dead guy's, family that he died. And everyone just looks at Gwen. She's like, yeah. What? Something on my face?
And she's like, damn it, why is it gotta be me?
So she and Owen actually go and do that together. They take the Torchwood van to wherever, this person lives. It looks like Muswell Hill in London, but yeah, it looks like the place where they did the Idiot's Lantern, almost. But Owen and Gwen
almost.
Yeah, Owen and Gwen get into a little confrontation, get into a little argument, and Owen is forced to walk back to Torchwood.
Yeah, take that, Owen. That'll knock you down to size. I guess. I mean, Gwen says, you really are a wanker sometimes, Owen. And he says, yeah, I know. That's kind of a power play.
Yeah, seems pretty proud of it, too.
Yeah, but then he seems upset about it when he gets back to the office, so all right, Owen.
Anyway, they devised this ingenious plan for Owen to investigate Mark Lynch, or whatever his name was.
Yeah, that was it.
How do they get the lead on this guy? I forget.
He owns the real estate company that was selling, or actually the real estate company that owns the warehouse that they went to where they found the dead body.
Yeah, that's a bit of a stretch.
They didn't think he would be involved. They just thought that...
they just devised this master plan just thinking it wouldn't be of any use whatsoever.
No, well, actually, no, there was a reason. The reason why they wanted to investigate was because they wanted to find out who had bought the warehouse from the real estate company, and that's why Owen was going undercover, was because he needed to get access to their files to find out who bought the warehouse. Obviously, as it turned out, that guy was in on it, but they didn't know that when they started.
Yeah, that's interesting. They just kind of, assume that whoever's using this abandoned warehouse is involved in, the legal, ownership of it.
Well, I mean, it's the best lead they've got since the van is gone.
Yeah, true. So they devised this ingenious ploy, this insane, compelling backstory where Owen is moving to Cardiff. He's moving his jellied eel business to Cardiff. And
and not only that, they didn't give him a fake name. They just
yeah.
Owen becomes Owen Harper, businessman.
It's he looks up, he Googles Owen later. He first hit his private practice that he used to be a part of. And the guy's like, wait, what?
He Googles him and finds his Facebook page, and it's just like employee at Torchwood Institute. Honestly, I was really impressed at the speed at which they put this plan together, because Owen, it was so, Mark is like, hey, you know, I have some extra properties if we meet after work. And so at this point, I didn't even realize Mark was in. I thought he was just hitting on Owen. And I was like, well, that's all right, Owen. I mean, whatever you got to do for the job. And then he goes to look up like Owen's business website. And I was really impressed that Tosh put this whole website together in the like, I don't know, implied 2 hours it's been since they were at the warehouse. They've even got like a proper like video testimonial.
Maybe they just had this like plan in their back pocket to pull out whenever they need it, you know? Yeah, I think it's supposed to have been like a week or something, but like, yeah, it does feel like the very next morning.
So while this is all going on, Jack has ordered Gwen to go home, and she goes home, and Reese is going out with the boys to like the bar and the strip club, I guess.
He's going to a stag party. Rory's stag party. No.
Wouldn't that be the crossover of the century? And he comes home pretty early, actually, and he says that the boys went on without him because he wanted to go home. So he wasn't having a good time. So Gwen pours him a drink, and then she gives him the drink and just goes, Reese, I've been cheating on you. And he's like, what? You wouldn't do that. And she's like, but I have. And it's with a man named Owen at work. And that's it. I've been cheating, and I need to know that you forgive me. And Reese is like, what? No!
He actually doesn't respond, I think, to this request to forgive her.
Yeah, he's a little too shell-shocked to process.
And also a little too drugged, because Gwen slipped whatever the memory-erasing drug...
Retcon.
Yeah, into his drink, because she wanted the forgiveness with none of the guilt involved. She wanted to have her cake and eat it too, so to speak. She wanted to reap the benefits,
and that's not how
without
that works.
Having any of the responsibility, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, Reese does respond, and he goes, why are you telling me all of this? And she goes, I need to hear that you forgive me. Also, I drugged you, and you'll forget all of this by tomorrow morning. And Reese goes, what? What?
That's when he starts sort of fading, and he's not fully there, and he really can't respond, and he doesn't respond.
Yeah. I mean, the drug starts to hit him pretty hard. You know?
Yeah. So there's no resolution, actually, to this, in this episode at least.
No, we don't see Reese again. I mean, I half imagine he might just be dead.
Just had like a real bad rip and died.
I mean, I'm going to be honest, like, I kind of thought that's where that was going for a second, because Gwen was like checking his pulse and was like, Reese. And I was like, is Reese just going to die right now? Are they going to just kill off Reese? I mean, no, they probably don't.
They're not going to kill off Reese before he finds out about Torchwood. Mark my words, he's going to find out. If not in the season finale, then in next season.
Bold claims.
It's going to happen.
Bold claims.
Watch me just be like eating my words, however many weeks from now. Anyway, while all of this is going down, Owen is continuing to investigate Lynch. He and Lynch have gone to the same bar and are confronted by the same guy and beat the hell out of him and his lackeys.
Yeah, Owen's like, shoot, because he thinks his cover's about to be blown, but luckily for him, he used the same name for his fake identity as his real name.
Just goes to show you that building a web of lies is not the way to go. See who says Doctor Who and Torchwood are no longer educational.
No one says that.
Anyway, he...
At least not on this podcast.
Yeah. And if you're not on this podcast, can you really say that your opinion counts?
No.
Just think about it for a second. Here, let me weigh the pros and cons of supporting this opinion.
Yeah, that's exactly what was happening.
Anyway, this is how Owen and Mark kind of bond over mutual...
Because they like beating people up.
Yeah, beating people up. They go back to Mark's place, and it's like this really swank... Like, imagine Rocky's place from Rocky 1, but like the exact opposite of that.
What a colorful metaphor.
Anyway, Mark starts talking about how, like, you know, money isn't everything, and how, like, all the stuff that he has and, like, the sweet pad that he has doesn't define him. It's just like, yeah, all right. Easy for you to say.
Man.
Yeah, you know, money isn't everything, but, you know, it can't, you know... Never mind. I don't even know what I'm saying.
Well, my favorite part of this apartment, and I don't know if you noticed this, but as soon as I saw it, I couldn't unsee it, was just the fact that this might, for out of universe stuff, this might have just been some office building that they reappropriated as Mark's apartment, because if you look at the back wall, there's just a big sign that just says electric.
Well, maybe that was to cater to Owen and try and get him into the Weevil fight ring that they have going, because you see Owen's cover was that he was a jellied eel business owner, and jellied eels are made out of, I think, electric eels that have been chilled, that have been jellied, so to speak, that have been congealed in their own juices, if you know what I mean. So...
You know, I had that thought too. And then I thought it would be funny if he was just a massive General Electric fan, and just the off-screen part says General, and he's got a big General Electric sign on his wall because he's such a big GE fan. And that's what I'm going to choose to believe.
Maybe he does live in the equivalent of like a gutted, not even gutted, but just an office building converted into apartments, like Chungking mansions in Hong Kong.
He does seem to be extremely wealthy.
Yeah, Owen even says, like, looks like I'm in the wrong business, which is like, your cover was selling jellied goddamn eels. Like, yeah, no crap. Anyway, Owen pretends he's looking for the bathroom after some cryptic dialogue between him and Lynch. And what he actually finds is a locked room on the second floor, behind which is like this torture chamber. Yeah,
Owen breaks into the torture chamber. He's got a gun on him, which probably for safety, but also like, how are you going to explain that as a jelly eel salesman that you're just like open carrying a gun in Cardiff? But there's a Weevil in there. So before we go too much further, I want to mention that there's been kind of indications that Mark has some problems because he's got a boxing bag, which isn't a problem in and of itself. But then Mark starts punching it and he goes, so how do you relieve the anger, Owen? Do you like punching things like me?
Yeah, and I was just like, what?
And then...
no?
Oh, yeah. So there's a Weevil in this torture room, and Mark just comes in. He's like, "It's great. Look, try it." And he just starts beating on the Weevil. And I was like, "Oh, all right, Mark."
Like, I'm more of a verbal abuse guy. Like,
I'm more of a mental. Yeah, I'm more of a emotional abuse kind of.
God.
We've got to mention that part of the reason why, like, Gwen and Owen have their falling out is because Tosh mentions that Owen had an affair with Diane, and Gwen's like, wow, I thought I was the only affair that Owen was having.
Yeah, well, it wasn't really an affair, right? Because, like, I don't know, neither of them had, like, a committed, relationship or whatever. I think.
Well, there was kind of an implication with regards to Owen and Gwen, so him sleeping with Diane is kind of an affair, but also, like, they were never an official thing because that relationship was Gwen's own affair.
Yeah, this is all getting so soap opera-ish. I'm so invested, I'm already waist deep in the Torchwood, web of connections. Anyway, while all this is going on, Jack and Tosh are tracking the Weevil kidnappers.
Right.
And the way they've decided to do that is by releasing a Weevil into the streets of Cardiff.
I'm kind of with Tosh on this one. Not a great idea. Not a great idea.
Yeah, but most of Torchwood's ideas have not been great, so this is not a standout moment for them. It's more just normal. And that makes it okay. I mean, alright, it works. And because we all know the ends justify the means.
All right, Machiavelli.
Anyway, Lynch takes Owen to like this Weevil, I don't know, fighting ring that they've set up, which is why they've been kidnapping Weevils. And who knows how the hell they keep this place running with the amount of noise and commotion it must generate.
Okay, so in a little bit, when Gwen finds out where this location is, Tosh, when she's explaining everything, she kind of implies that they move the fight ring every week, and I found that incredibly unlikely and impressive. Yeah, given the infrastructure in place in this location. And I was like, how would they even move the Weevils, quote, safely, unquote? I mean, I guess with the tasers they've got. But, yeah.
Yeah. Gwen gets some Jubilee pizza, Torchwood's favorite, Torchwood's go-to, and shows up at Torchwood HQ and nobody's there because they're all out investigating the Weevils and Lynch.
Yeah, she comes into the office, presumably because Reese is knocked the heck out.
Right. And this is when it hit me that this has all been taking place in one day.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, I guess that wasn't that surprising. But what was extremely surprising, and what perhaps justified the pain and anguish that Gwen is now about to go through, was the fact that it looked like, to me at least, I don't have any proof of this other than my own, visual confirmation, which may not even be confirmation, but it looked like Gwen had ordered some pineapple pizza. And
yeah, I saw that too.
Just doesn't fly. That
whoa. Keon speaks for himself.
No, pineapple on pizza is
A-okay with me. In fact, I've ordered it multiple times.
Eighth sin.
No, we already decided the secret eighth sin was necromancy.
Right. Well, okay, secret ninth sin. And that
I'm gonna have to disagree.
I don't know.
Gonna have to disagree.
Okay, well, I don't know. There's just something so wrong about
I think you mean so right.
Well, okay, see, here's the thing. You're vegetarian, so you haven't experienced the travesty known as Hawaiian pizza, which is pineapple and
That's true.
ham on pizza, which is an actual crime against humanity.
I don't doubt it.
Pineapple on pizza is also bad, just not as bad as the full Hawaiian.
Disagree. I like pineapple on pizza, in fact. I just lost half of our fans.
You gotta wonder how was that even thought of? Like, who put, like, you don't put, like, apple on pizza. You don't put pear on pizza, as far as I know. Or you don't do it in general. Like, maybe some people out there do.
I've definitely seen pear on pizza. I'm gonna throw that out there.
I feel like I've seen that as well somehow. But, like, you don't put, like, I don't know, cantaloupe on pizza. You don't put dragon fruit on pizza. Probably because you don't, like, eat dragon fruit or have access to it. But hey, enough dwelling on that. Time to dwell on the tears that Gwen breaks into right now. Because she's just overwhelmed by, one, probably how, like, shitty of a person she's being. And two, the fact that there's no one there to share in her anguish.
Yeah, a little bit of a spoiler for Seven Sins of Gwen, but I kind of think she commits a little bit of sloth here, but
Yeah, maybe.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we will get there, because right now Owen is being introduced to the Weevil cage matches that they've got going on. Turns out that this is how that guy who they were investigating before died. He stayed in the cage with the Weevil longer than anyone. He went the distance, went 15 rounds with the Weevil, and died.
Well, so Mark reveals that this insane scheme, you pay $1,000 to get into the cage with the Weevil, and if you stay in there the longest, you win all the money.
Yeah. Or it was probably £1,000, right? So like $2,000.
Yeah, £1,000.
Like,
sorry.
that's almost, back in like 2006 money, that's like almost $2,000, like 1,800 or something like that. Dang.
Yeah.
He explains that all these people are like extremely rich, but have extremely desolate and empty lives, and that they need, this to fill the void type thing.
Yeah. Interesting. That guy apparently died because, like, as Mark explains, he just didn't really want to live anymore. He just, he went in and he just stood there and died. But he did set the record, though. He did, in the process, set the record for staying in there the longest.
Right.
And part of the... there has been kind of an indication that this is happening before, because they do also find someone with Weevil bites at the hospital. Because before they decide to look up the owner of the warehouse, they decide to scour the hospitals of Cardiff for Weevil damage, I guess.
Oh, right, yeah, we skipped that entire scene where the guy lies about his injuries. Because apparently, if you out this like... Well, it's not apparently. I mean, it makes sense.
Club.
Like, yeah, if you out this fight club there, you're going to try and silence you.
I kind of wonder, like, what kind of reach this fight club has, because it looks to be just a bunch of, like, rich playboys. Like,
yeah.
So Gwen eventually... So she's hearing something get a text message, and it turns out it's the dead man's phone. And she picks it up, and she Googles it and finds this address. So she calls up Jack and the gang, tells them where the address is, and
they go there.
Then Jack is like, why are you in the office? And Gwen's like, doesn't matter, go to this address. And this is when Toshi/Toshiko explains that every week these people get this is just a theory really, but seems to be true. Every week, these people get a text message on where to go, and it's a property owned by the real estate company that Owen was investigating. And that's how they know it'll be empty, because he owns the properties, so they can go there and use it for their like fight club, I guess.
Now that I think about it, maybe they have multiple setups, you know, because it really seemed like they just had this one Weevil here, so maybe they distribute all the Weevils that they capture to different areas and just have...
See, again, I don't know how many Weevils exist, because at the end of the episode, we only see 2 at once. And I thought that was, that's the Star Weevil, and then the Weevil that Torchwood released. But, I don't know. The number of Weevils seems to be in flux. As long as the number of Weevils is conserved in the universe, who knows?
Yeah, their population seems to... as long as they, have a stable, population, it should be fine, Anyway, Lynch wants Owen to get in the cage. And Owen's like, nah, man, I have to report this. I have to put a stop to this. This is wrong. And I can't let this fly. To which Lynch pulls a gun on Owen. He's like, get in the cage, Owen. And Owen somehow takes command of the situation. He's like, fine, I'll get in the cage, just lower the gun. Or he goes like, I'll get in the cage if you lower the gun. And Lynch is like, that is...
Yeah, Owen seems to have a death wish.
Yeah. Lynch is like, that is exactly why I pulled the gun on you, Owen. Thank you. This does just have sort of a bite to it, where because before, when Lynch sees Owen's gun in his apartment, he's like, really, Owen? You're gonna hide behind a gun? It's not who you are. Owen is like, fine, and he tosses the gun away, and then you find out that Lynch had a gun on him the entire time. So Owen gets in the cage, and you can easily tell at this point that he wants to die, in the same way.
He just kind of stares the Weevil down.
And I kind of thought where they were going with this was that the Weevils are not actually intrinsically violent or whatever, that they were only fighting back. And I thought Owen was just gonna do nothing and the Weevil wouldn't attack or something like that, but no, it's not where it goes at all.
Yeah, it doesn't go that direction at all. Instead of it seems to imply that because Owen is a massive dominant personality, he can just control the Weevils almost.
Wait, really? I didn't get that.
Oh, that's just what I got out of the final scene when he goes into the basement and just stares the Weevils down and they cower in the back of the cell.
Oh yeah, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, how this is resolved is that the Weevil starts mauling him. The rest of Torchwood breaks in, shuts the place down, pulls Owen out of the cage. And that's that.
Yeah. And then Owen starts getting chewed up when the gang arrives because they distract him. And so Owen's kind of recuperating in the hospital, I guess, from his Weevil injuries. And he bemoans the fact that Jack and them saved him. And I'm like, wow, maybe he just wanted to save the Weevil, Owen. Do you ever think about that, Owen? Maybe he doesn't give 2 damns about you, Owen, and just wanted to save the Weevils. Do you think about that, Owen?
You just had to make it about yourself, Owen. You just had to... God...
Just had to be selfish, Owen. Jeez. Wow.
Owen does say when he's in the hospital, one, that he doesn't like grapes, and 2, that he wanted to die. Basically, he pretty much says that.
Yeah, Owen had a death wish.
Jack tells him that the doctors say he should be ready to go, up out of bed by tomorrow, and he wants him back at work tomorrow, which is what kind of doctors are these? He looks like he literally has broken limbs.
It's the kind that you could pay off with Torchwood money. So really not good ones, because it's just a really bad government salary.
Imagine if Jack when Torchwood breaks into the the Weevil fight ring or whatever. Imagine if Jack is like, "No, I know you all want to continue to operate, and we're going to let that happen for a small weekly fee." No. Look, gotta fund Torchwood somehow.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
What if that jelly eel business was actually real and Torchwood just like runs that on the side?
That's how they make all their money, selling jellied eels. And then, so Owen, I guess, goes down into the basement where they keep the Weevils and then just stares them down, and that's literally how the episode ends, is with Owen staring down some Weevils in the basement.
Yep. So another Owen episode / Gwen episode. Instead of exploring sidelined characters such as Toshiko and Ianto, we get another one of these. Hell yeah.
Well, we all wanted to know more about Owen, right?
It's true, yeah, I did want to know more about Owen.
Well, now you know. He's got a death wish after Diane left him. Apparently, he really did fall in love with Diane in the implied 3 days over which Out of Time takes place.
Yeah, maybe, maybe he had this. I don't think he's suicidal because he's shown no attempt to commit suicide before this, but maybe he had this in him before, and Diane leaving just compounded it.
Perhaps. I guess we'll never know.
Unless future episodes explain.
They probably won't.
Yeah, probably
Honestly,
not.
They probably won't.
Yeah, the preview for next week doesn't seem like it touches on anything that happened this week, but it does seem like it touches on the exact reverse situation from Out of Time. Just capitalizing on the creative bankruptcy of Torchwood.
Are you implying that Torchwood, with only 11 episodes under its belt, is already running out of ideas? Oh, the prisoner is, though.
The prisoner definitely is. No, it was more just for the sake of a joke that wasn't even really funny. It should be the
well, at least you can admit
tagline for this podcast. Whatever.
It really sounded like you were going to say the tagline for this dumb podcast there. Like there was an adjective there that you selectively deleted.
Anyway, since Owen was the main man, since Owen was the star, since Owen was the focal point, the centerpiece, the star around which the planets that were this episode revolved.
What?
Why don't we explain our WTF Owen moments of the week?
Well, let's see. Let me check my notes for which was the biggest WTF Owen moment of the week. Because what wasn't a WTF Owen moment of the week? Honestly, for me, it's probably beating that guy up in the bar and then going to the same bar with Mark later on and then beating him up again.
Yeah, that was a pretty WTF moment. I just put it... I don't... looking back, I don't really agree with this, but I just put the suicide by Weevil thing that he did at the end.
Suicide by Weevil?
I don't really consider that the biggest WTF moment anymore, I think, looking back, since that's sort of, a character moment for him, where we find out, oh damn, Owen wants to die.
Yeah, damn.
Maybe his confrontation with Gwen in the Torchwood van, I guess.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, because Gwen comes in as the worst part of this job is telling the family. And then Owen says nothing. She's like, wow, thanks for the kind words, Owen. And in my mind, that was almost a WTF Gwen moment because, in what universe is Owen the man you're going to for comforting words?
Yeah. Plus, what do you even say to that? What,
Sorry you feel that way, Gwen.
Literally, all I can say is, yeah, freaking sucks. And
Yo, that straight sucks, dog.
Yo, dog, I heard you like telling families that their loved ones are dead, so we put some dead people in your... Okay, never mind. I only referenced the most vintage of aged memes.
Okay.
When you think about it, the Torchwood van is sort of a pimped ride, you know? It's...
I believe we're unironically referencing Pimp My Ride right now.
Well, that's what that meme, that Yo Dog meme is from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say I never watched Pimp My Ride, but I just realized I think I watched one episode of Pimp My Ride.
Yeah, I watched a couple episodes. Watched one where they incorporated dental floss into the pimping because the guy was a dentist.
In what universe is that a good idea?
This one. Anyway, for how shaken up Jack is by the events of this episode, not very, I would say. And I don't think that that's understandable at all, considering how much he's learned about his employees.
Well, but we've seen that he doesn't really necessarily care that much about his employees, you know? I mean, he kind of just hires them based on the fact that they found Torchwood. He never does any background check to see if any of them were are hiding any secrets.
Yeah. So there's definitely precedent for not being surprised at his lack of concern. But I don't know, somehow it just doesn't make it any less surprising to me.
Well, fair enough.
As for Gwen, this week, maybe we should try and introduce segments for Yanto and Toshi as well, because we talk about them getting sidelined. We're really the ones sidelining them here. You know, we have a segment dedicated to Jack, a segment dedicated to Gwen, another segment dedicated to Owen, yet we have nothing for Yanto and nothing for Toshiko.
Yeah, you're right.
Probably because they're nothing characters.
Well, we can have the don't completely sideline Ianto segment of the week, which is just to not even talk about what Ianto does in the episode. At the end of the episode, we just sideline Ianto like the episode does.
Yeah, sounds good to me. We can also incorporate how good of a person was Toshiko this week and then totally forget that segment and skip it every week, because who wants to hear about goodness and stuff like that? No one.
We could do something related to what weird technology Toshiko uses this week.
Yeah, we could. It isn't really all that out there most of the time, though. It's mostly just stuff you'd see in normal, cop shows that's a little bit heightened from what's actually possible and what's real and stuff.
We can just turn it into the generalized technology segment of the week then, and talk about the weird show-specific tech they use, like the search engine searchwise.net, which is what Mark uses, and what Toshiko is completely aware that Mark is going to use, because that's she gets Owen's website to the top of the Searchwise results.
Optimizes for Searchwise. That's actually one of the most out there and hard to believe aspects of this episode, is that within a few days they get to the top of the search results. I
still like to imagine it's the next day and Tosh was just so good at manipulating this system, or just hacked into Searchwise to put their website at the top. I don't know.
It actually was a lot easier to get to the top of the results in 2006 than it is now. One, because there's a lot less competition, and two, because of the way at least Google's algorithms used to work. It was just a lot easier to do.
Yep. Well, there's the Tosh Technologies corner. There we go.
Yeah.
Tosh's Technology Corner.
Hell yeah.
But now on to the best segment we've ever come up with ever.
Yeah.
The 7 Deadly Sins of Gwen.
All right, so which sins did you have her committing this week?
So I kind of had her committing sloth when she comes into the office, sees that no one's there, and instead of making any effort to find out where they are, she just sits down on the couch eating pizza, which is also gluttony.
Yeah, I had that one as gluttony for sure because, it involves eating, and everyone knows every instance of eating is an instance of gluttony. No.
I don't know, just because she makes no effort to contact Jack or Tosh or Owen until just this guy's phone rings. And I got the impression that if it didn't ring, she was just completely fine to just sit there, wallow in her own sadness / madness, and just eat pizza.
Yeah, that's why I didn't really have it as sloth, is because, she's basically emotionally destroyed at this point. So, yeah.
I guess. She breaks one of the 10 Commandments when she's upset about Owen's sleeping with Diane. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor, or however it's worded. Basically, envy. Basically, don't covet what your neighbor has, I think, is what it actually is.
Yeah, so I guess she commits envy in the episode.
What Owen has with Diane. Oh. She also commits memory erasure, which is, if it isn't a sin, probably should be.
Yeah, it'd probably be on the list if if the Bible was written in 2006, it would definitely make the list.
If God didn't stop at 7 sins. What if God released periodic updates to the Bible? There's like Bible version 1.1. And then he releases a changelog that's added 6 new relevant sins. Updated Jesus' story to be more believable. I don't know.
Wow.
Not that it's not believable.
I mean, it's kind of not believable. That's the whole thing, is that it's a belief, right? You have to go that extra little bit. It's not and then Mary and Joseph fucked and Jesus was born. It was that they didn't. And then he was born.
I like how there are dozens of PG alternatives for that word in that context you could have used, but you said no. I'm going for it.
All right, I'll say that again, so you don't have to bleep it out.
No, it'll be really funny if we have to bleep. It'll be really funny. Oh God. Oh God. Okay, so I actually skipped my Amazon X-ray fun fact of the week on accident, but it's just
yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say it's in the middle of the episode when Owen's talking with Mark, and it was apparently that Bern Gorman was featured in Esquire's Hot British Actors for 2008. That's it.
Huh.
That's the fun fact.
Well, okay. Awesome.
You're welcome.
I had a couple more sins for Gwen. I had her committing. I put her down for greed. I don't remember why. I think maybe it's just because she wants it all in this episode and wants to give nothing in return. She wants the forgiveness that Reese could provide, yet doesn't want to have to deal with responsibility for her own actions. Yeah, it's a bit of a stretch. I also had her down as committing pride. She's maybe at the beginning,
yes.
When she makes the excuse that work is really getting to her at the restaurant and stuff like that. I don't know if that one really works.
I can kind of see it.
But for once, she actually didn't commit lust.
True. For once, she doesn't even want to sleep with Reese. She doesn't even say Reese looks good in his shirt, but she does say that he calls I don't know what he calls the shirt, but whatever he calls that shirt, he calls it that because in the past, Gwen said he looked sexy in it.
Yeah, that was the past, so not anymore, Reese.
So, yeah, Gwen's kind of a terrible person. Just saying.
Yeah, she kind of is. But that's okay.
She just drugs her boyfriend. Just lies to him daily. just yells at him when he has completely valid points.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
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 Anyway, I only had one actor this week that I looked up.
Oh, I looked up 2.
Okay. So
So
all
you
right,
go
yeah.
first.
So we have Alex Hassel, I think was his name. Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who played Mark Lynch, and he's just been in a lot. Like nothing I really recognize, but he's been in like 50 things.
He's in the live-action Cowboy Bebop.
Oh yeah, I saw that. He plays he's going to play whenever that comes out. Vicious, the main villain of that show.
He was also in The Boys, which is a pretty good Amazon TV show that's really violent.
And that's why it's good, right?
It's good because it like critiques superhero things, because it's a thing about superheroes, but just all the superheroes are just assholes because they have powers, and like if you have literally godlike powers like Superman, why wouldn't you be an asshole? And in that show, it follows the protagonists who are like, the supers are kind of like assholes and we should take them down.
The supers.
And so like
the Incredibles.
That's what they call it. They call them the soups. But I don't know. I just like that it sends up / critiques a lot of like superhero culture now. It's based on a graphic novel, I think.
Huh.
But yeah, he plays the Invisible Man. So they've got like their own version of the Justice League, and one of the superheroes on the Justice League is the Invisible Man. He's got like impervious skin, but he's invisible. I guess that's a trade-off.
Huh.
And then I looked up Paul Casey, who plays the Weevil in this episode.
Oh yeah, cool.
Apparently he plays a lot of monsters, like he played a zombie in 28 Days Later. He played Admiral Raddus in Rogue One.
Right.
The one who orders them to like crash into the Star Destroyer with the Hammerhead Corvette or whatever. He also played like random background monsters in all 3 sequel Star Wars movies.
Huh.
Including Last Jedi, which apparently in my haste to write down Last Jedi, I accidentally wrote down Lady Jedi. So, whoops.
Yeah, autocorrect will do that to you.
He also played like 32 monsters in Doctor Who in various different episodes, including the Jadoon in Fugitive of the Jadoon,
Oh, wow.
and the Jadoon at the end of Timeless Children, apparently. So he's still on the show. So.
Nice.
So there you go. And that's, actually all I have to say about this episode.
Same. Can't wait to see where we go from here.
Well, we've only got 2 episodes left this season.
Yeah.
And if you read the plot summary for the finale, it kind of spoils what happens next week. Because next week they're like, if we open the time rift to try get Jack back, who knows what'll come out. And then the literal first line of the plot synopsis for the finale is that the time rift has been opened. So thanks, Amazon. Thanks.
Okay, so we have a comment on Facebook about random shoes. This one's from Alex. Who says, I was 15 at the time I first watched this and being heavily bullied.
Oh,
maybe we don't want to read this. Well, he posted it on there, so under his like real name and stuff, so like, yeah. I guess we just go for it? Like, it doesn't seem, he's not trying to hide it himself, So,
yeah, I mean, he posted it on our public page.
Yeah. All right, let's just go for it. I was 15 at the time I first watched this and being heavily bullied. I remember the actor being in a teen-oriented drama called As If on Channel 4 not too long before. I thought this episode was really sad and deep back then, though even I thought it was way too early to do this. It would make more sense if someone had been stalking Jack. Yeah, now that you mentioned that, I completely agree with that.
Yeah, honestly, I completely agree too. It would have made a lot more sense if they were stalking Jack.
Yeah. Unless, I mean, we don't really know how much time has passed, right? Maybe Gwen is a living legend among people who know of Torchwood now. I don't know. It just seems a little less likely.
Yeah, I mean, like, the thing about stalking Gwen was that created this weird kind of dynamic because it's this guy stalking this woman, which is a very, very real thing, and made it like really difficult, at least for me, to like sympathize with him because it just gave him this weird energy. Just like it just became so awkward, and also like the fact that Gwen has only been in Torchwood at this point for like 6 months, so like how long has he been following her for? Is it like her entire run at Torchwood? Like, and that's why I agree that it would have made more sense if it was Jack, because it would kind of expand the scope a little bit to reveal that he's been following them for quite a long time. But in the episode, the way they make it seem is that like he's only been following them since Gwen joined the team, and that he's got an obsession with Gwen and Gwen only. Because it seems like the team doesn't think he's obsessed with Torchwood, the team. He's obsessed with Gwen, the person. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
So, good old Torchwood, tackling those adult concepts with grace and ease. Yeah, thanks for the comment, though.
Yeah.
It's always good to hear from our listeners. But on that note, if you'd like to email us, you can reach us at thedoctor@decorativevegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, angry rants, love letters, your thoughts on combat. You can find us on YouTube at Decorative Vegetable. You'd find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify. And Stitcher. All at Trust Your Doctor. Be sure to leave a rating if you like the show.
Check us out on Facebook, Trust Your Doctor. Like us on Facebook. Also check us out on Twitter, TYD Podcast, and follow us on Twitter. And next week, we're going to be watching Captain Jack Harkness. But until then, the end.